You know that feeling when you wake up in the morning and your knees sound like a bowl of cereal? That crunch, that stiffness, that moment where you think, am I really this old already? I used to laugh it off. But the truth is, it wasn't funny anymore when I realized I was avoiding stairs, skipping leg day, and making excuses just to not feel that sharp sting in my joints every time I moved. And here's the crazy part. I thought it was just part of getting older. Turns out, I was dead wrong. What if I told you that the same supplement most people associate with building muscle and boosting strength could actually be the key to moving pain-free again? Yeah, I'm talking about creatine. And no, this isn't some bro science hype. There's real research behind this, and once I understood how it works, everything changed. Not just in the gym, but in everyday life. Walking, playing with my dog, even just getting out of bed without wincing. Let me break this down for you, because if you're dealing with joint pain, this might be the missing piece you've been searching for. So here's the thing. Most people think creatine is just for gym bros trying to get swole. And sure, it does help with muscle growth and performance. That's well documented. But what they don't talk about enough is what creatine does on a cellular level, especially in tissues that are constantly under stress, like your joints. Creatine helps regenerate ATP, which is basically the energy currency of your cells. Your muscles need it, your brain needs it, and yes, your cartilage and connective tissues need it too. When your joints are inflamed or damaged, they're working overtime to repair themselves. And guess what? That repair process requires energy. A lot of it. There's a study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition that showed creatine supplementation can reduce inflammation markers in the body. We're talking about things like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, both of which are associated with chronic inflammation and joint pain. So creatine isn't just sitting there making your biceps pop. It's actually supporting your body's ability to heal and reduce the signals that cause pain in the first place. That blew my mind when I first read it. I mean, here I was, thinking I needed some exotic anti-inflammatory supplement, when creatine was right there all along. But let's get personal for a second. I remember the exact moment I realized something had to change. I was at the gym, loading a barbell for squats, and as I descended into the first rep, my right knee just gave out. Not completely, but enough to send this electric jolt of pain shooting through my leg. I had to rack the weight. I limped to the locker room, and for the first time in years, I genuinely felt defeated. Not because I couldn't lift heavy, but because I couldn't do the thing I loved without my body betraying me. That's when I started digging. Not just into pain management, but into what actually supports joint health from the inside out. And here's where it gets interesting. Cartilage, the cushiony tissue between your bones, doesn't have a direct blood supply. That means it's really hard for nutrients to get in there and do their job. But creatine, it's one of the few compounds that can actually penetrate and support cartilage cells, also known as chondrocytes. These cells are responsible for maintaining and repairing cartilage. When they're starved of energy, your joints start to break down faster than they can rebuild. It's like trying to fix a leaking roof with no tools and no materials. You're just fighting a losing battle. What's your experience with this? Have you ever felt like your body just wasn't recovering the way it used to? Drop a comment. I'd love to know where you're watching from and if joint pain has been holding you back too. Now, I'm not saying creatine is a magic cure. Let's be real. If you have serious joint damage, you need to see a professional. This is educational content, not medical advice. But what I am saying is that creatine can be a powerful tool in your recovery arsenal, especially when combined with proper training, mobility work, and good nutrition. I started taking creatine, monohydrate, 5 grams a day, every single day, not just on workout days. Consistency is key here. And within about 3 weeks, I noticed something subtle. The morning stiffness, it started fading. The knee that used to click every time I climbed stairs, quieter, not silent, but noticeably better. And then there's the hydration factor. Creatine pulls water into your muscle cells, which is great for muscle fullness and performance. But it also helps keep your joints lubricated. Think of it like oiling a rusty hinge. Your joints need that fluid cushion to move smoothly. When you're dehydrated, or when your tissues aren't holding on to water properly, everything feels stiffer, grindier, more painful. Creatine helps with that. It's one of those small things that adds up to a big difference over time. Here's another piece of the puzzle that doesn't get enough attention. Creatine has been shown to have neuroprotective properties. That means it can help protect nerve cells from damage and inflammation. Why does that matter for joint pain? Because a lot of chronic pain isn't just about the joint itself. It's about how your nervous system is interpreting signals from that area. When nerves are inflamed or hypersensitive, they can amplify pain signals, making everything feel worse than it actually is. By supporting nervous system health, creatine may help dial down that pain volume. It's like turning down the gain on an overdriven amplifier. The sound is still there, but it's not blowing out your eardrums anymore. I also want to talk about the difference in quality, because not all creatine is created equal. I went through a few brands before finding one that actually felt like it made a difference. Some were grainy, didn't mix well, and honestly, I'm not even sure they were pure creatine monohydrate. Others were fine, but I didn't notice much. Then I switched to a micronized third-party tested product, and that's when things really clicked. The absorption was better, the consistency was smoother, and most importantly, the results were undeniable. I'm not here to push products, but I will say this: if you're going to try creatine for joint health, make sure you're getting the real deal. Look for something that's been tested for purity and doesn't have a bunch of fillers or additives. What surprised me the most wasn't just how creatine improved my performance, but how everything started to feel different once I switched to the right one. I didn't expect such a clear change, and honestly, I tested more than a few before finding what actually worked. This isn't a promo or sponsorship, just sharing real results that made a noticeable difference for me. I'll leave the link below, in case you want to dig into it yourself and see what I mean. Let's talk about timing and dosage for a second. Most research supports a daily dose of 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. Some people do a loading phase where they take 20 grams a day for the first week to saturate their muscles faster, then drop down to 5 grams for maintenance. I didn't do that. I just went straight to 5 grams a day, every day, and it worked fine. The key is consistency. Creatine builds up in your system over time. It's not a pre-workout stimulant that kicks in within minutes. It's more like building a foundation. You're stacking benefits day after day, week after week, until one day you realize you're moving better, recovering faster, and feeling stronger. And here's something that might surprise you. Creatine isn't just for young athletes. There's actually emerging research showing that older adults, especially those dealing with age-related muscle loss and joint degeneration, can benefit significantly from creatine supplementation. One study found that older adults who took creatine while doing resistance training not only gained more muscle and strength, but also reported improvements in functional movement and a reduction in joint discomfort. That's huge, because, as we age, maintaining mobility and independence becomes just as important as staying strong. I'm curious, how old are you, and have you noticed your joints feeling different over the past few years? Comment below, because I think this is something a lot of us are dealing with but not really talking about openly. Another thing I learned along the way is that creatine works even better when paired with other joint-supporting nutrients. Omega-3 fatty acids, for example, are well known for their anti-inflammatory effects. Combine that with creatine's ability to support cellular energy and cartilage health, and you've got a powerful 1-2 punch. Vitamin D is another key player. It supports bone health, immune function, and has its own anti-inflammatory properties. I started making sure I was getting enough omega-3 south and vitamin D, along with my daily creatine, and the synergy was noticeable. It's like each piece was supporting the others, and the overall effect was greater than the sum of its parts. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. You've probably heard some myths about creatine, that it's bad for your kidneys, that it causes cramping, that you'll bloat up like a water balloon. Most of these concerns have been debunked by decades of research. Creatine monohydrate is one of the most studied supplements in the world, and it has an excellent safety profile for healthy individuals. Yes, it can cause some water retention, especially in the beginning, but that's usually just a few pounds and it stabilizes. As for kidneys, if you have pre-existing kidney issues, you should definitely talk to your doctor before taking any supplement. But for most people, creatine is safe and well tolerated. The key is to stay hydrated, because creatine does draw water into your cells, and you want to make sure you're replenishing that. I also want to touch on the mental side of dealing with chronic pain. When your joints hurt all the time, it messes with your head. You start to lose confidence. You second-guess every movement. You avoid activities you used to love because you're afraid of making it worse. I know that feeling. It's frustrating, it's isolating, and it can really drag you down mentally. But here's the beautiful thing. When you start feeling better physically, even just a little bit, it creates a positive feedback loop. You move more, you sleep better, you feel more optimistic. And that mental shift is just as important as the physical recovery. Creatine, for me, wasn't just about reducing pain. It was about reclaiming my freedom to move, to train, to live without constantly worrying about my joints. So where do we go from here? If you're dealing with joint pain, here's my advice. Start with the basics. Make sure your training program isn't beating you up unnecessarily. Work on mobility and flexibility. Get enough sleep. Eat a balanced diet rich in anti-inflammatory foods. And then, consider adding creatine to your daily routine. Give it at least 4 to 6 weeks to really see the benefits. Track how you feel. Notice the little changes, the reduced stiffness, the smoother movement, the ability to do things you couldn't do before. Those are the wins that matter. What surprised me the most wasn't just how creatine improved my performance, but how everything started to feel different once I switched to the right one. I didn't expect such a clear change, and honestly, I tested more than a few before finding what actually worked. This isn't a promo or sponsorship, just sharing real results that made a noticeable difference for me. I'll leave the link below, in case you want to dig into it yourself and see what I mean. I'm not here to sell you a miracle. I'm here to share what worked for me and what the science supports. Pain-free movement isn't some distant dream. It's achievable. It just takes the right approach, the right tools, and a commitment to taking care of your body from the inside out. Creatine might not be the only answer, but it's a damn good place to start. And if you're serious about getting back to feeling strong, capable, and confident in your body, it's worth giving it a shot. So let me know in the comments. Are you going to try this? What's been your biggest struggle with joint pain? And where are you watching from? I love hearing from you all. It reminds me that we're all in this together, figuring it out one step at a time. See you in the next video. Bye.